want one of those. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
We are now joined by Clint Bowyer, driver of the number 14 Toco Warranty Ford. We'll open the floor to questions. If you have a question, please raise a hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. Start in the back.
Yeah, Clint, Tim is playing the pit stop radio over here. Back over here. Hey, Clint. With this new taper spacer and this bigger spoiler that we have here, do you think it's going to be better to be out front leading in the final lap here, or do you think you need to be second, third, or what?
Let me tell you, it's always better to be out front. Doesn't matter where you're at Talladega or Texas or anywhere in between. Out front's where everybody wants to be. Out front's the hardest place to get to, and out front's the hardest place to stay. So many things can happen on the last lap at one of these plate tracks like this. You have to be, the first guy. Yes, we've seen the videos of, myself even, where I passed, Jeff Burton coming to the line. My teammate Kevin Harvick, made a pass coming to the line. Those scenarios can happen, and as long as the caution doesn't come out before then, can happen. But there's, like I said, there's so many different scenarios that could take that win from you. If you were in second place thinking you're in the catbird seat, just chomping at the bit to slingshot by him coming off of 4 or on the front straightaway, and because of a caution or something like that, you never get that opportunity. So out front's always a place to be. Doesn't matter where you're at.
Jacob Zimmerman, Speed Sport Magazine. It's funny that you referenced the pass of Burton, because that was kind of where I was going with my question. I don't know if you can ever truly enjoy this place because of how unpredictable it is, but
well, hell yes, you can.
Okay, when you win, I know it's enjoy. During the
if you woke up every day of your life and knew what the future hold, that'd be a pretty boring life. That's what's cool about Talladega. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people wake up in the morning wishing the night before didn't happen at Talladega. But nonetheless, I hope my hangovers Monday morning celebrating a Sunday victory.
Do you enjoy this style of racing, though, with it being kind of more mental in the draft the last couple of years?
I think you have to. I think every track, every scenario, every place we go, short tracks, medium, mile and a halves, intermediate tracks, these plate tracks, they're all, have their own challenges in their own sort of way. And certainly the team aspect, I think, is played out probably more than any on these plate tracks like Talladega. You're working so hard, with your spotter and trying to visualize this scenario that you need to be in with the right cars and the right place for that magical moment, that magical push. And then all of a sudden, hey, is that push going to be there? Is he going to try to get around me? Is he going to try to side draft off of me? Is he going to stay with me? And I think that's where the strategy comes down to it, is making sure that you do a good enough job and put yourself in a scenario where that car behind you has no choice but to benefit from pushing you, and that's the key to having success here. And hey, good old-fashioned luck goes a long ways here sometimes. When the big one happens or something chaotic happens throughout the race, these stages has really compiled some racing within this race. It's not just all about that end. As these stages come to an end, those first and second stages, you really see the intensity pick up, kind of gives you a glimpse of what you're going to see at the end. And some carnage can happen at those. So you got to be careful and cautious enough and lucky enough to get it through there to get your points. But again, just answering his question, where's the place to be at Talladega? No different than anywhere. It's out front. If you're ahead of all that, doesn't matter what happens in the mirror.
Go to Kelly.
KellyCrandallRacer.com. Clint, you come in here kind of on a roll with your finishes lately, and I know you and Kevin had said to start the year that you guys were just kind of survive the West Coast, build, get better. Do you feel like SHR is now going in that right direction? It can start putting the cars on the track to compete with Penske and Gibbs?
Well, I think the West Coast thing, the start of our season is just one or the other. Everybody, works hard in the off season, puts in the due diligence, and works hard to make sure that we hit, the ground running, and sometimes that doesn't work. Last year with the Stewart-Haas cars, we did. We rolled through the West Coast swing, came out a handful of confidence, didn't really need to work on much. We had a lot of strengths, had a few weaknesses that we needed to polish up, but we really were strong early and got that points base established early, and rode that wave on through the summer months. This year we missed, man. We weren't exactly where we wanted to be, where we thought we would be, where the plan was through the West Coast swing, but once you get back with a group like we have, a group of racers, in the trenches at Stewart-Haas Racing, you knew it wouldn't take long to get to the punch and get our cars right, and meeting after meeting after meeting, talk after talk, and the people. It all comes back to the people working tirelessly to get our cars turned around, and I think the results, the last month really proved it. Knocked on the door pretty hard. Myself and Kevin's been running well. Eric's been running well. Our cars are good. It's exciting times right now. It's that first group of tracks is behind us, and learned what we needed to learn and put it to good use.
Next to Bob.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports. Not looking at this week, but looking ahead.
We need to look at this week. This week hasn't happened yet, Bob.
Well, I'm curious, and it's also looking back.
Now we're looking back?
A little bit of everything.
Well, damn, Bob, which one is it?
Well, it's a little bit of everything, which should be good for you.
All right, we're going everywhere.
With this 500, at the 550 horsepower races, there was some speculation at the start of the year that there'd be more wrecks, that
What do you want me to do, Bob?
I'm curious.
Wreck them all?
No, I'm just curious why there hasn't been. What about this package?
I can't help it but be a smart ass. It's what you're good at, and I'm only good at a few things. I got to stick with it. The answer is this: I don't think you can plan, or you can ever look at a. Yes, I thought that the 550 package would create exactly what it did on the restarts and things like that. I thought the intensity would be very, very strong on the restarts. On the mile and a half in particular, we all thought that, we would be bunched up. And anytime you bunch cars up, just like we see at Daytona and Talladega, that 9 times out of 10, that leads to some sort of carnage on the racetrack. I think the downforce aspect of the package that we're running with our cars this year is a big part of that. I think the tire is probably even a bigger part of that. The cars drive really well, and I think the point's proven when you put them 4 or 5 wide on restarts at a mile and a half track, wide open, and still don't crash, they're pretty stable underneath of you. So, yes, I am a little bit surprised at how well some of the tracks, some of these restarts, and some of the crazy, chaotic scenarios that we've seen, because they've been there, hasn't resulted in some wrecks. Because I guarantee I've looked at a few of them ahead of me out there on the West Coast when I wasn't running very well, and saw some things in front of me where I thought, well, this is going to hurt. And it never did. But I think a big part of that is how stable the cars are, and the tires are very predictable.
Any additional questions for Clint? Come up here.
Yeah. I mean, they're just more stable, and they drive good. You know what I mean?
Clint, with this is Rich Colbert from the Motor Race Network, with Mother's Day coming up here pretty soon. Talk about your mom and the influence she's had on your career.
I think moms, when I think of my mom, I think of Ponca City, Oklahoma. I don't know if you've been to Oklahoma, but the dirt's red, where all 3 of us brothers were racing motorcycles and racing 2 or 3 classes. We were down there for a week, and now that I'm older and have kids, it's hell for a parent. I couldn't imagine going through and having 3 kids racing all these different classes and having to keep track of that and when to be up there. It rained and it was muddy, and I remember my mom had this. She was like the coolest girl in the pits, because my dad found her like this miniature washing machine, and she was washing all the red dirt out of those clothes and trying to keep everything clean, and you had white boots and was keeping those clean. I'll always remember that growing up, how hard they worked to get us, to not only to the racetrack, but once you're there, oh my gosh, it's a lot of work. And they were doing that all themselves, and that wasn't Kansas, by the way. We grew up in Kansas. We were raised in Oklahoma, Texas, all over the place, and I mean, she's my parents owned a business together and ran that together and raised, 3 boys. So we always raced. We always traveled up and down the road in a motorhome. Everybody always asks, how do you get used to living in a motorhome? It's like, hell, it's the only thing I've ever lived in. A nice house is something, but there ain't nothing sleeps better than a 40-foot Winnebago.
Additional questions for Clint?
Might not be a Winnebago anymore, but you get the gist. Thanks, guys. Let's go put on a show, huh? Have some fun. Jeez.
All right.
We are here to
thanks,
have
Clint.
fun, right? Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Clint. Good luck this weekend. That would help. We are now joined by Martin Truex Jr., driver of the number 19 Bass Pro Shops Toyota. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you.
All right. See you later.
We'll start with Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. I want to say after, or in the preseason, you speculated there could be more wrecks with this package in the 550 horsepower package at the intermediate tracks. I'm curious why we haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely expected more of it. I would say I expected probably the packs to be a little bit tighter, I still think there's some racetracks where we might see, tighter groups of cars, just depending on grip level and night races, things like that. But I think generally it's just, handling has been a bigger factor than I expected it to be, and so the field kind of gets separated, and I think that's part of it.
Next to Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Speed Sport Magazine. Martin, when Clint and Eric were in here earlier, they kind of referenced that the teamwork aspect of the draft was really started by Toyota a couple of years ago. How has that changed from when you guys pulled it off at Daytona a few years back to where it sits now, and will it change again this weekend with the package?
It definitely could change this weekend. I think there's already a lot of talk about tandem possibly being able to happen, and if it does, and if it's the way to go, then teamwork certainly is kind of goes to a whole other level where you have to kind of commit to just one guy. As far as Toyota kind of starting the teamwork deal back at Daytona a couple years ago, I think how it's changed is that everybody's caught on to it manufacturer-wise, and for us at Toyota, there's a lot less Toyotas than anything else, so it's changed a lot for us. I would say more than anyone. So strength in numbers, I think, has been kind of against us, but in general, the manufacturers have just really worked hard at getting their teams all together and trying to do the best job they can to get their manufacturer in victory lane.
Next to Jerry and then Kelly.
Jerry Jordan, kickingthetires.net. Martin, was announced earlier today that Joey's going to do the White House visit with Trump on Tuesday. Any advice, we talked about you taking what you took away from it. Any advice you might have for him on that trip?
Oh, no advice really. Just I'm kind of jealous. I mean, it was an amazing experience, and they treated us so well. It made you really feel special, honestly, and it was really cool just to be a part of it all. And for Barney and everybody on the team, and for Johnny Morris to be there, and just it was a really special day for all of us. So it's a heck of an honor, and definitely jealous. Hopefully he enjoys it. I'm sure he will.
Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of know what to expect, and that's kind of that. So no grudge really. Just maybe think about things a little bit differently when we get around each other.
Next to Rich and then Dustin.
Rich Colbert, Motor Racing Network. Next week we go to Dover. You've had a lot of success at Dover with this new package, new team, and all that. How do you look at next week?
Next week is going to be it's going to be a tough race. I think the speeds are going to be really high. I'm sure it'll be the fastest we've ever been around Dover, and 400 laps there is tough no matter what. So I think it's going to be pretty crazy. Hopefully we'll be able to do some passing, and hopefully the dirty air deal's not terrible, but it's definitely going to be tough. I think track position will be important, but the speeds, it's going to be it's going to be tough. It's going to be demanding. Bristol was pretty crazy. I thought is just how hard you had to drive the car each and every lap, and as fast as Dover is, I think feel-wise, it's probably the fastest place we go. So it's going to be an eye-opener, I think, for some guys.
Dustin?
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. At Daytona, we certainly saw the Toyotas work with some of the Chevy cars in kind of a little bit of organized type of situation. Are the elements still in place for something like this here, or is it with the new package and everything that might change things, or is it still a fact that there's more than a dozen Fords and there's only 5 of you guys, and as you say, strengths more in numbers?
Yeah, I think we'll kind of learn more as we go here. I don't think anybody has any real plans as of yet, just because of we don't know what to expect. A new package, possible tandem racing. There's just too many questions right now. Those are things that after practice, everybody gets together and tries to figure out how they can, strategize to give themselves the best shot at winning. And I don't know of any plans right now of anyone working together. I just know that we're going to go out there. We've got some plans to do some different things in practice, try to figure it out, and then we'll go from there.
Any additional questions for Martin? Go up to Bob.
Are we going to know what to expect on Sunday after today, or no matter what we see on practice today, is Sunday still a mystery?
I think we'll get a good idea, but you can't. Race conditions are always different. The win is on the line. A lot changes. The energy gets going, and guys are willing to take a lot more risk. So I think you'll get a good idea of it today, but Sunday has opportunities to be a little bit different, obviously.
Go to Lee.
Lee Spencer, RacingVoice.com. Did you have a sense of relief going into the off week, just knowing that you won, because it was just going to be a matter of time? But just getting that, and I won't even call it a monkey off your back, because you won so much last year and you knew it was going to happen. But is it just kind of like you could take a deep breath because that was kind of checked off the list?
Yeah, it definitely felt good. It was nice to go into an off weekend with a win under your belt. Be a winner for 2 weeks instead of one. But I think just getting that first one of the season out of the way it always seems to be the toughest one. And especially this year with being on a new team and all that comes with it. It definitely was a big boost for our team and for all of us. So good confidence builder, and definitely a good time to win. And hopefully we can continue to put ourselves in position.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Martin?
Thank you.
All right, Martin. Thank you. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.